Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Belosky. Mustangs conjure up images of cowboys in the old American West, and recently Oklahoma has become entwined in that image. There are still horses roaming free out in the western part of the United States. Many of them come here to live out their lives in safety or to be adopted. It's part of the federal government's program to keep the wild Mustangs protected, and Oklahoma plays a critical role in their survival. They are an American legend, the wild Mustangs that roam the plains out west. Here they are free to run, graze, and breed. They are freedoms the horses don't give up easily.
Yeah, you have to be slow with them and not get them too nervous, so it slows things down.
Melvin Reed's ranch in northeastern Oklahoma is the first stop for the Mustangs after they are rounded up in their natural habitat. A law passed in 1971 protecting the Mustangs from poachers. Since then, the Bureau of Land Management has been in charge of their care. The Bureau contracts with ranchers like Melvin to keep the Mustangs on their property. When the horses first arrive on the ranch, they're put into these smaller holding bays where they're trained to come for feeding time. Once they're trained, they're turned out into the bigger pasture where they have over 12,000 acres to roam around on.
We turn them out into pasture and we don't ever mess with them again. We do look at them every week and 2 or 3 times and feed them during the winter.
The Mustangs pretty much live the same life here on Melvin's ranch that they lived out west. At least for a little while.
01.
Part of the Bureau's management plan is to eventually adopt out the Mustangs. When that time comes, they are rounded up on the ranch. What follows is months of shots, traveling, and training to take them from wild to domestic.
When we bring them up into the restraining chute, we are worming them and taking blood for EID test, the Coggins test, so they can be shipped out of state.
And the males are gelded to stop breeding. In the wild, the Mustangs are reproducing at a rapid rate out in western states like Nevada and Wyoming. Caring for the growing population costs taxpayers millions of dollars every year.
When we first capture the horses off the range, when we're doing our removals, when they first come into our trap or our corrals there, we separate everything, the males from the females, and the mares with young babies are separated, everything right at that point.
Then the horses are taken to a ranch either in Kansas or several in Oklahoma, like this one, Melvin Reed's 4 acres ranch outside Pawhuska.
You know, when they first started putting these contracts out, they wanted contractors west of the Mississippi River. And the first one down at Bartlesville, the second 2, one is at Catoosa and the other at Cassidy, Kansas. And it's ended up, the tallgrass Osage prairie has ended up being the ideal area.
Rod Coleman says it's because of Oklahoma's climate and the availability of forage. Life on ranches like this one, as well as the immunization process, are the Mustangs' first experience with human hands. It's also the start of a long journey where they will leave the herd and head for a new home. But before that can happen, the horses are sent to prison.
You want me to catch you today?
At the James Crabtree Correctional Center,
Easy now. I ain't gonna hurt you.
Mustangs are in the hands of the inmates, and the inmates are in the hands of Don Whiteneck.
I only want gentlemen with horse experience. I want somebody that's growed up around horses, been working with horses some, so that they know exactly what's going on with that horse.
Here, Don teaches the inmates how to train the horses and make them rideable.
We teach them to get control of them so that they'll go to different signals, and then we start working on trying to get them where they'll accept us onto their back.
Getting to that point is usually a 2-week process. The training starts with this. Andy Peel takes the Mustang to the tire pole. There they are tied up and a plastic bag on the end of a stick is waved around them. The Mustangs buck and stomp, and it wears them out.
Easy does it.
But after that is over with, you can gently take your time and move up. You may be able to get a handle on him by being able to touch him and stuff like that, going around him, and he'll start accepting that. And that's just the first day.
Then the inmates can start touching the horses, rubbing them, getting them ready for the next step.
A lot of it is rubbing the belly, and a lot of it's when you put that saddle on, they get used to something going across their belly.
Riding the horses means taking them in different directions, passing them by unusual objects, teaching them to stop spooking when they see something out of the ordinary. Angel was not quite ready to walk by our photographer holding a big camera. From the time the horses arrive at the prison, it takes about 60 days to get them ready for adoption.
And we try to give them where anybody, never even rode a horse before, can crawl on them and ride them off.
Andy says training the horses is something he looks forward to every day. His other option would be sitting in the penitentiary doing nothing. This, he says, is more fulfilling.
We're out here working with horses. It teaches a lot about yourself, too. It teaches you patience and how to be able to, you're not just looking after yourself, you're looking after the horse and the other riders around you.
And for the horses, it gets them to this point. Calm, rideable, and ready to be in the hands of someone who loves these American symbols of the Old West. Dina Martin is that someone.
He was rounded up from the very northern part of California called Susanville.
Dina used to travel to events singing the national anthem. She wanted a flashy horse to ride around on while singing.
But I just thought, how cool would it be to sing the American song on an American legend? So that's how the concept of adopting him came up.
Dina went through the adoption program offered by the Bureau of Land Management. She was good enough with horses to train Cochise herself.
I used food to manipulate him, and I read him a Baxter Black book. I literally would sit outside his stall during feed time and read him a book.
The cowboy storyteller seemed to be just what Cochise needed to adjust to his new life with Dina.
He learned my voice, he learned me, I laughed, I fed him at the same time. It was kind of like this bond.
But he was still a wild animal and showed it the first time Dina rode him.
He hoorah'd. Yeah, we had a bit of a rodeo on the first saddle day.
Dina says it takes many months and lots of patience to get them from the wild to this point where you can put a saddle on them and ride them. Of course, riding isn't the only thing she does with Cochise. Would you believe pedicures?
Cochise has become so well adjusted, he will actually lift his leg for Dina when she comes to clip his hoof.
He's so calm.
Dina gives riding lessons to kids here in Claremore, and she's training Cochise to do lunging patterns with them. Plus, this horse has some other talents.
He rides, and he's really good at hazing horses or hazing cattle because he's really strong.
It's that strength you have to handle with care. If you adopt a wild Mustang, Dina says the first few months are critical.
This is where you make and break the habits, and they're brand new. You're working with a clean slate, so you don't want to mess that up.
You may not reach horse whisperer status, but with the proper training, almost anyone can own a wild horse. The Mustang population is booming out on the plains in Wyoming, California, and Nevada, so there are plenty of opportunities here in Oklahoma to care for these legends of the Old West.
I think it's really good that they're adopting them out.
Boy.